Hi everyone, so tonight we're going to be looking at the new UI for the Dwarf 3, which is very similar to the Dwarf Mini as well. When we jump into the photo mode, you're going to notice that it's different, and I'm controlling it with my iPad right here. So this is a live sort of demonstration. So basically what we have is our picture-in-picture is the same as before, and if you tap it, it switches between the two modes. We also have a control, which I'm currently in Astro mode and it's tracking, so it doesn't show up. There's also a controller mode. It's down the corner. I'll show it to you later in the video for those who want to do it. You'll also notice that along the bottom of the screen is the exposure, which is 15 seconds, the gain, which is 60, and that the astro filter is engaged. And you'll also notice that we're in EQ mode. The telescope itself is 24 degrees C. Note that this is the telescope's temperature, not the temperature outside, and the temperature outside is about -5 right now. And how much battery power, how much memory we have, and also the time. In the top right corner, we have access to our atlas, which tells us that we're currently pointing at, that's not where we're pointing. Awesome. Does it show us where we're pointing? Because we should be pointing up here. Well, we'll find out in a second if this is working. And we also have it where we can get into our parameters. Now, I'm currently using auto parameters for the telephoto and the wide, and we also can set settings for things like what file format we want. Do we want the preview to be stacked or single images? And then there's some other calibrations and other stuff like this that is there that we can use. Now, we also have it where we can go to photo, well, right now we're in Astro mode, so we are photo mode. We're going to continue current capture. It's a good idea to do darks, but that would require me having to run out there and do them. And we're still dealing with a little bit of temperature drops. And right now we are going to click focus and we're going to hit autofocus. I know it's already in focus, but we're going to focus anyway. And we are currently looking at M31, which we're tracking in EQ mode, which we'll be able to see in a few seconds here. That is the Andromeda galaxy. Now, as we are just finishing up waiting for the autofocus to run, and I did want to show you this in sort of real time so you did get a good idea of where we are, and we can see that it's coming into focus. There we go, is that we can do that focus. Now over here on the right hand side is also our parameters. Now this is the parameters that we use for choosing the settings for our image captures. Now if you want to, you can disable the auto parameter and you can go through and change a bunch of settings, choose which filter you want to use, the shutter duration, and all the other stuff if you so wish. Right now I'm just going to leave it on auto parameters because I'm doing this as a demo, and it's currently a full moon, which we'll look at a little bit later. I'm just waiting for it to get a little higher in the sky, but ideally here is that setup there. We also have it where we can set up here and it shows us, and that's this little button right here on the far left, is going to show us that we're in EQ mode and that we don't have darks applied, and curves we can play with once we start imaging, which is not a big problem. So we're going to go. Now you could capture darks and go through the dark settings. All right, yeah, we didn't want to go to settings. And then we want to go down to my device, and we want to go to, I think it's image calibration, dark frame. So right now I have dark frames for 36 degrees, 24 degrees, and 38 degrees. If I want to add a set of darks, I similarly on the wide, I can hit add dark, and I have to put the ND filter over the telescope. So I'm going to do that right now, and through movie magic, I will be back in a second. Here we go. And with delicate ease, we're going to be turning this only with my hand. So we're going to put this on the Dwarf Telescope. So here's the Dwarf Telescope, and there's the moon that we were imaging. So we're going to slap this on here like so. Bye-bye. And we're just going to rotate it manually so it's not pointing at the super bright moon. And I'm back. And we're able to now press next. And we can hit start capture. And it's going to start capturing those dark frames. And that's going to allow us to basically have a lower temperature because it's going to do it about So this is going to allow us to do it at a lower temperature, and we can do a bunch of different darks in the library, which is really important because these dark frames allow us to get more accurate results, and the smart telescope basically corrects this. Now, again, this is something that you would normally do, and I say normally do, when you are doing imaging for this is something you would normally do if you're doing imaging for professional this is something you would normally do with most telescopes, etc. But it's nice that the Dwarf actually keeps it on the thing, so you don't have to redo it. You just have to sort of pick the different settings. So right now I'm doing 15 seconds at 60 gain at 4K, and then I'm also going to do like 30 seconds at 60, 4K, and then 4K at this, and you'll see that it's happening, and you'll see that it's happening here at the screen, but it's happening a little bit faster than real time. And the reason for that is because I just sort of, again, ran it forward for you guys, because otherwise you're just sitting here listening to me talk while it takes, you know, some time to do it. So it's always good to do this after dark. You don't want to be doing it when there's still light out. Another option you can do it is if you have like a sunroom, or if you have a bucket, you can always do it in a bucket outside, let the bucket cool down. And that way you can sort of image. So when you're doing your imaging session, you have all these. And again, the nice thing is that once you do them, you don't have to go back and redo them. So that is definitely a nice feature. Whereas before, you just had the 3 dark frames that you had to work with. Now you can actually make a whole bunch of extra dark frames for different temperatures, etc., which is going to be good because as the winter shows up, it's going to get colder and colder and colder. And I can tell you from last year, when I was using the Dwarf 3, it started to get a little bit iffy when you're like, hey, my coldest temperature is 24 degrees, and it's sitting at like 10 degrees or 5 degrees, or I don't remember if it went negative some cold nights, and you're sort of off parameters with the darks. If you're within, like, I'd say 5 degrees, I wouldn't worry too much, but obviously, again, if you're like negative 20 degrees, you might want to look into it. I should also add that you can add a different count. Here you can all the way up to 99. Generally, similar to like the moon, go here, 10 is probably enough for most things, because basically with darks, the return for every additional image that you take is less and less and less and less and less and less. And there we go, we have it captured. Now, so one last thing that you need to realize is that if you want to have a colder camera, and maybe you're like, hey, it gets cold at night, but it's warm during the day, putting the smart telescope in your fridge or freezer is a great way to drop the temperature on it, be able to take lower temperature darks. Now, obviously, again, this is the temperature of the camera, and that's the camera sensor, and it does produce heat when it's running, not the temperature outside. So just keep that in mind, and that's why I have one at 20 degrees and one at 19 degrees. And also that you can do this also for the wide telescope. Now, for the wide angle lens, I think it's less of a concern. I'd still probably do one for, like, say 15 seconds. Yep, nothing's changed. And start capture. And the reason for this is because generally with the wide, you're not going to take as long and deep images. Generally there's things moving in the foreground, like unless you're pointing straight up into the sky and you're just looking at stars, you generally want to do about 15 seconds. That way if a plane flies through, or a satellite or something else, it doesn't create a giant streak across and you lose like a whole minute of your long field exposure. So generally I would say 15 seconds is probably as long as you're going to need for the wide field shots. Again, you can play around this and try different things, and let me know in the comments if it's a better thought. But yeah, I'm just going to do it for 15 seconds. And yes, you can't leave. If you do try to leave, it'll say, do you want to cancel? So you have to wait for it to get done. So again, this is not necessarily something you want to do in the evening. You want to kind of do this pair ahead. But again, once you've done it, it's saved on the telescope, and therefore you don't have to do it again. So that's useful. And apparently we've gone down to 18 degrees. Ooh, it's cold outside. All right. It's not actually that cold, but yeah. Okay, so we're gonna head back to the camera for a second here, and we're just gonna go here, and it's gonna initialize, and then we're gonna see it image the Andromeda galaxy. And we're just going to let it go for about a minute or two here. I'm probably just going to time lapse it for you guys. And the reason for that is just simply to show you that it does work. But you don't necessarily have to sit here and watch it happen. But I do want to make one note here, which is at the top, you just notice this little red thing popped up. This is how many images that you've taken out of the total number of images you've asked. The total maximum is 999. And then on the right-hand side, it shows the number of images that have been stacked. So as the camera is processing and imaging, you'll see the number on the left-hand side go up, and then the number on the right-hand side sort of play catch-up, being behind maybe 1 or 2 or 3, or if it's lost a couple frames because it's decided they're not good, maybe an airplane flew through there, maybe the tracking wasn't great, maybe there was a gust of wind, whatever it was, you'll notice that there's going to be a slight discrepancy in the numbers. Not a big issue. So we can see here that even after just a few images, that the Dwarf 3 is doing a really good job of starting to pick up the center core of Andromeda, and if we let it go for a while, you can see here that it's getting more and more and more detail. And also we're seeing, just because of the angle, that other small little galaxy that's in this particular view, to the top right. Alright, so now I'm back and we've done about 7.5 to 8 minutes worth of exposures, and you can start to see that we're getting some detail. Now, we're also seeing a significant amount of gradation on the image, but that's because the moon's down in one corner, and yeah, it's a full moon. So we're going to go to that in a second, but you can see here that we're running and it seems to be running well. Now, before we jump off of this, I did want to show you the curves. So here's the curves, and you can actually move this with your finger, I'm assuming. Oh, there we go. And you can adjust it, and it'll adjust the image to what we want. So if I go like this and then I go like that, that is horrible. Why did I think of doing that at all? But I want to bring up some of the shadow detail, and that is not how. Anyway, so we can do this. Oh man, that's terrible. All right, we're gonna hit reset on that, and we're just going to bring up that, and we're gonna do this sort of a reverse S curve. Maybe not the greatest thing to be doing, but you know, we can do that. And then we can also do it with the red. So we could bring the red down. It's gonna give us a very green cast, but we'll move the red back, and then green, we're gonna go down as well, up, and then the blues, we're just gonna tap up a little bit and then back in, just a bit up. And I have no idea why I would ever do this, but you can sort of see that we can then do some coloring, and we can, you know, I wouldn't normally do this, but for the purpose of this video, you can kind of see more detail now on the screen. If we hit reset here, we can reset, 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 and we get back to our original image. But again, we don't have as much detail. I'm just wondering if I can grab the bottom. I can't. Okay, and then you can also save the curves if you want. So just something to consider. If you are imaging, you can play around with them a little bit to get a little bit more detail out. Obviously, what you want to do is, once you've done finishing imaging, you'll want to get an image, something that looks going to look like this. And this is from a previous time I've done it, and overall it works pretty well and all that great stuff. The main thing here is that it does require a lot of time, and also it's ideally not to be done when a full moon is out. That's the big takeaway of this one. Full moon is not a good idea. So we're going to stop it right now. It's going to spin for a second, and then we're going to just have a look at the imaging library and see if any changes have been made there. It does take a bit to get it to finish, but you know, again, I'm leaving it on here for the video, not because I want to waste your time, but I want you to understand this is how long it takes, so that if you decide to buy a Dwarf 3, you're not surprised when it takes like 30 seconds to save a high resolution image from the buffer of the telescope into the final picture. And again, this is just with 42 images, so obviously I would run it for a little bit longer if I wanted to, but on a dark night when the moon isn't up, 42 images is pretty good to get some bright images. So there we go. We have it. Now we can hit edit, and we're going to hit edit, and it's going to say click Stellar Studio. Got it. And let's log in. All right, so here we are in the Stellar Studio. We can click on our image that we just did, and it's going to initialize, and it's going to then go and take this image that we've taken, and it's going to run it through an automatic process. There are other steps that we can do, like denoising, star removal, adding a watermark, and a few other things. But ideally here, we're just going to do this quickly to show you that it does work. Now my internet's a little bit slow, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but otherwise this should work pretty straightforward. All right, let's see if it actually goes now that it's uploaded. And you can see here that we've gone to where we are now having it process, I guess on the Dwarf servers. So we're just gonna have to wait for it to go. It does it pretty quick. As you can see here, it's now saying it's uploading, and it shows you by a percentage that it's uploaded 10% right now, and it says M31 and then auto, because auto is what we want to do with it. So this is actually kind of useful. I think we can just leave it right now. Yes, we can. It's going to do it in the background while we go and look at the moon. Hold up, future editing Graham here, and here's the AI enhancement that came back from that stacking. So just to give you an idea of what it's able to do. Now we go off to the moon. So we're going to go back to photo here. We're going to stop tracking M31. Aha! This is what I wanted to show you from before. Turn that off. So if you hit this bottom button right here, you can control, and then you have to hit a hard press to have them come back. You can also move your telescope by basically, and we're just going to move it over here to these bright stars so you can see them moving across the screen, or you can also do sort of a drag, and those stars are well off the screen now. It doesn't take a lot to move a little here, but yeah, so the controls are there, and you can basically hide them if you want to, and then long press to restore. Okay, so now that we're here, we can change to different settings. We can change it to general mode, which gives us general mode, free mode. We can go around. You can see how the settings have changed a bit, but we want to go to solar system and we want to go to moon. So we're going to see here that's going to come up to the moon, and we got to do it now. Okay, so we need to find the moon, which is going to be a little bit tricky because I'm not 100% sure where it is, but I think it's, oh wow, that was less tricky than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I thought that was going to be tricky to find, but there you go, there's the moon. So we're going to move the moon until it's in that box, coming in on that box right there. Oh, there it is. And once it's centered, and we get it centered here, I'm just going to tap to do the little changes. There we go. We can switch back to here, and we can go and say, great, solar system, moon. And then we said, done already. All right. Now it's apparently searching for the moon that I was literally pointing at. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, there it is. It's back. Perfect. All right, so it's going through it. It's going to center it, and then it's going to go through its autofocus parameters, right? Nope. Okay, we have to hit autofocus, and it's going to autofocus on the moon. There we go. And you can see here that we have the moon. It's there. It's nice. It's in focus. It's going to wiggle around a little bit as it's tracking. Now, you have to realize that because of the seeing conditions, and we are pointing it pretty angled right now, that the moon is going to move around quite a bit, but the camera will basically try to track the moon. So now that we're in here, we can go and say, I don't need to focus anymore. It is tracking. So we're going to hit auto initializing, and it's going to try to take pictures of the moon and then stack it, and that should give us a higher value quality of the moon. So it's going to take apparently 20 photos, and then it should kick out a really nice pic. Oh no, it's actually doing it in real time. Look at that. And then you can see as it's stacking the images, as the right hand side is catching up, and it should get up to about 20, although I would expect 1 or 2, maybe 3 to be lost. It's basically stacking, and the image is getting better and better and better. Like, this is really, like, it looks really good, guys. And it's, you know, relatively simple to do if you can find the moon. But it's not too bad. So there we go. We're still tracking the moon, and we did get all 20 images in the stack. That is amazing. Like, seriously, done. Future editing Graham here again. So I just wanted to give you an idea how much better this lunar cropping is compared to what existed before. On the left is what I did 2 days ago, right before the full moon, and on the right is the new updated UI and lunar stacking method, and you can see here it's a significant improvement. It's a lot sharper, it has better detail, and it was a lot faster to be generated. So This is actually a pretty significant improvement on the dwarf operation. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you like it? Do you not? I will probably have I'll have a link below where you can buy the Dwarf 3 or the Dwarf Mini, or maybe even the Dwarf 4 next year. You know, fingers crossed that that will eventually happen. If you want some images, I will see if I can put a little tiny link to some images that you can check out if you want to give this a go. And there we go. And then it says edit image or continue. So I don't think we can edit image here, but we can go to the app. And we're gonna go here. Oops, we're gonna go to album. We're gonna go to our secondary moon picture. You know what, let's go to the first one. The first one was a little bit more centered. All right, let's see what we can do. Okay, so it shows all the stacks, which is nice. I don't have to do anything there. And it shows us the information on the moon. Okay. If we go here to Mega Stack, we can select our moon image, and then we can hit Start Stack, and I think it's going to restack it. I don't know if this actually does anything better. We're gonna find out. That looks about the same. Oh no, it's going. It says processing. So it's going to restack the image, and I guess you could go through and maybe select which exposures you want and have different ones, but it's restacking that image. Okay. And each time it does it, it drops some time. So we'll just let it go and see if that looks any better or worse than the picture that it created while we were basically watching it go. Obviously this is a bit more in-depth processing, and it created this image here, which looks very similar to this image, which looks very similar to this image. So I'm not sure if it's any different, because we didn't have any really bad stacks. And that's one thing, that if you're doing like planetary and stuff, you tend to throw away some of the badder images, the ones that get a little blurry or whatnot, and then you only keep the best ones. But yeah, no, this seems to be working pretty well. We're going to switch to the wide angle lens, which is right here. By the way, you can also now switch on the right hand side. There's this little telephoto wide button beside the thing that's apparently trying to image. Oh, is it trying to image because I accidentally tapped something? Well, hold that because it's just trying to image black, because I have to go out and replace that solar filter that's sitting on the telescope. That concludes our walkthrough of the Dwarf 3's new UI. Now, if you are interested in purchasing one of these, feel free to check out my affiliate link below. If you found the video useful, please give me a like or a comment. Anything basically helps the channel grow and tells YouTube this is a good video. And if you're interested, maybe check out one of these videos here or here, which YouTube thinks is either A, interesting for you, or was one of my recent videos. You decide.